Preface to The Bride by Joanna Bailie. To see the mind of a child awaking by degrees from the dreamy indistinctness of infancy to a clearer observation of what he beholds around, and a capacity to compare and to reason on the differences and resemblances he perceives, is the most pleasing and interesting sight. So in a far greater degree does the rousing a race or nation from its infancy of ignorance and delusion interest and excite every mind of any feeling or reflection. It was from this natural sympathy that I heard with the most sensible pleasure some months ago of the intended translation of my drama called The Mafra into the Singalese language, as a work which might have some good effects upon a people of strong passions emerging from a state of comparative barbarisms, and whose most effectual mode of receiving instructions is frequently that of dramatic representation according to the fashion of a country. A gentleman to whom Ceylon owns the great benefits conferred on a people by the pure and enlightened administration of justice, and to whose strenuous exertions they are also indebted for the invaluable institution of a trial by native juries, entertained this opinion of the drama in question, and afterwards did me the farther honour to suppose that I might write something more peculiarly appropriate to the circumstances of that island, which would naturally have a stronger moral effect on the minds of its inhabitants. Pledged to be made in the humblest degree an instrument for their good, I most readily promised to endeavour at least to do so. And when they read this piece, or when it is brought before them in representation, they will regard it as a proof that their former judge and friend, though now absent, is far separated from them, still continues to take a deep interest in their welfare. So considered, it will not fail to make an impression on their minds to which its own power or merit would be altogether unequal. But should the individual effects of his drama be ever so inconsiderably, the profits arising from its publication in England may be the means of procuring translations into the Singalese language of more able and useful works, and make, as it were, a first, though a low step towards higher moral eminence. In these days, when many excellent men are striving, at the expense of health and ease, and all that is valued by the world, to spread the light of Christianity in the East, when the lamented Bishop Heber, with the disinterested devotion of an apostle, joined to the mildness, liberality, ability, courteousness, and good sense which promote and grace every laudable undertaking, has proved himself to be the genuine and noble follower of his blessed Master, who would not be willing to lend some aid and encouragement to so excellent a purpose, I hope, and strongly hope, that good will be derived even from such a feeble effort as the present, and that the time will come when the different races of the East will consider every human creature as a brother, while Englishmen, under whose rule or protection they may live, will contemn that policy which founds its security upon ignorance. All past experience is unfavourable to the unmanly and ungenerous maxim, and in the present time, when perfect undisturbed ignorance cannot be obtained, the preservation of it in a middle state, to take no higher view of a subject, will be found to be a very precarious and expensive means of governing. But do I not wrong my countrymen connected with the East in supposing that a great proportion of them do entertain such narrow views? Of this at least I am thoroughly persuaded. But if such a supposition does not wrong them at present, it will do so grievously some years hence. For the ignorance I speak of is that which stands opposed to the useful, simple learning which promotes industry and charity. Of those superfluous acquirements which the overstrained refinement of modern plans of education seems anxious to extend to the lower classes of society that do not speak. But I must beg leave to reject what I have said above as to making a first step in this desirable progress. One of Mrs. Hannah More's sacred dramas was translated into the language of Ceylon several, I believe many years ago, and was much liked and admired by the natives. A second or third, or any rank, so as it be a step at all, is honour enough for me. And now let me address a few words to those whom I shall never see, whom many, many leagues of ocean divide from any spot of earth on which my foot hath ever rested or shall ever rest, those for whose especial use the following drama was written, and in whose country the story of its is supposed to have happened. I endeavour to set before you the leading precept of a Christian religion which distinguishes it from all other religions, the forgiveness of injury. A bold and fiery tempered people is apt to consider it as mean and pusillanimous to forgive, and I am persuaded that many a vindictive and fatal blow has been inflicted by those whose hearts at the same moment have yearned to pardon their enemies. But Christians, who, notwithstanding the very imperfect manner in which they obey and have obeyed the precepts and examples of Jesus Christ, do still acknowledge them and have their general conduct influenced by them. Are they a feeble and unhonored race? Look around you in your own land, in other countries most connected with your own, and you will acknowledge that this is not the case. You will, therefore, I hope, receive in good part the moral of my story. I wish to have found some event in the real history of Ceylon that might have served as a foundation for my drama, but not proving successful in my search, which, circumstanced as I am, could not but be very imperfect, I have of necessity had recourse to imagination. But there is one personal character in it which is truly your own, or placed in an imaginary situation, and any country in the world might be proud to claim it. Remember, said the son of the first Ediga of a Candian country to his elder brother, who had clung for protection to his wretched mother when she and all her children were condemned to death by a late king of Candy. Remember that we are the sons of a brave man, and should die as becomes the sons. I will be the first to receive the stroke of a headsman. The land which hath produced a child so brave and noble will also, under favourable circumstances, be fruitful of brave and noble men, and in proportion as her sons become generous and humane, they will also increase in valour and dignity. The little Seymour, then, of my play, is what the son of the first Ediga would have been in his place, and as such I condemn him to your favour and attention. The views which I have given of the religion of Juan de Creda are true to all that you will find in the history and precepts of Jesus Christ, whenever you are inclined to read those books of our sacred scripture which we call the Gospels, containing his history and written by men who were his immediate followers and disciples, being eye and ear witnesses of all that they relate, and let no peculiar opinions or creeds of different classes of Christians ever interfere with what you there perceive plainly and generally taught. It was given for the instruction of the simple and unlearned, as such receive it, wishing you all prosperity, as a brave and virtuous people. For brave ye are, and virtuous I hope you will become. I bid you farewell.